Hello everyone, my name is Lindsay Woolcott and this is the third challenge in the series, the JavaScript challenge series, where I've made 10 different challenges, and this one is roll a ball, the ball stops at a square, rolls from the next row I wrote originally. Not the best wording, so I've changed that a little bit. As you can see there, roll a ball, the ball stops at a div, appears at another div. Okay, so we're going to try that, which is basically would be the same thing as the initial one, but I've just changed it from row to a div. And the last part there, part B, I said we can make a paddle stick ball game, or you can call it like a ping pong ball game, where you hit the ball with the stick. So that's just a challenge. I won't be doing that tonight, I don't think. I'm just going to do a quick video of the first part where we make a ball roll and then stops at a div and goes to another div. If I can get that. I haven't actually studied how to do that yet. I've just been looking at different ways of getting a ball to roll and stop and bounce around the screen. Okay, so I understand that. Now it shouldn't be too hard to get it to stop at a div, I hope. So to get the ball rolling, mind the pun, we'll start off with the basic shell of the program, just the HTML. So we've just got the basic comments here. So we've got start off with here we write the style of the ball, variables to use in the function to move the ball, and then we actually have the move ball function. Okay, where we have the current positioning of the circle, change the direction if it meets the outside boundaries, and it checks for the X and Y positions, increments the X and Y positions, or decreases it if it's going in reverse, and then we adjust the delay. So that's where we put it. So when we call this, we're going to call the comment here. So outside of the actual function, we're going to call the function outside the function. So that's all we have in this HTML. It's in the body. Besides the title, we have this function that just keeps on running, calling itself. So we'll call itself, and it just has a delay. So you could call it, 3 milliseconds if required, but you can make it, delay like 20 milliseconds or 5 milliseconds just to. Well, the more often you call it, the smoother the transition will appear, I believe, with the ball. And also with the talking about transition, the actual increment here, where we've got the increment the X and Y position. Well, we don't need to increment the Y position if it's just going across the screen, but we will look at moving both the X and Y position. So if the increment, so every time we run the program, we'll increment the movement of the ball. The smaller the increment, the smoother transition will look. So, but the smaller the transition, the smaller the increment of the movement, the slower it will go as well. So if we run the program run the program faster, like the less delay, then of course that will counteract the smaller size in the increment. We will see what I mean once I get into it. And down the bottom there, I've started looking at defining the wall, or the paddles in the next section, where we're going to get it to stop at a div. So the first part here, we're just going to get it to bounce off the wall, come back again. We'll start off with that. All right. So, style of the ball in JavaScript. So for this one, you can do a ball a number of ways. You can do it in HTML5 canvas, where you can define the ball in the canvas. I've chosen not to do that just because it's actually a little bit more work to do that just for the one ball. It's fine just to do it using the DOM and usual calls without the canvas, just for the one ball. If you're doing multiple balls around the screen, multiple variations and animations, it might be better to use a canvas. I haven't been using the canvas much mainly because I don't really work with graphics that often. But yeah, I want to work with the canvas mode. I'll do a few more tutorials. I'll do a few tutorials on the canvas once I get more experience in it. So I'm going to practice a bit more with the canvas and just compare that with using, what I'm doing tonight, like function calls, just using the standard, vanilla JavaScript and the DOM. Okay, so in a previous tutorial, we looked at how to make a ball spin. So yeah, that was just defined in CSS. So similar to that, we're going to use JavaScript to adjust the style. And for this one, because the ball will be created every time this function runs, we need to create the ball on the flow, create the ball as we go. So it's not a static one. It's not something that we do with styles. It needs to be done using JavaScript. Okay, so this is what I've done. Variable, I just called it ball. So we use the document.create element. So the create element is a way we can, this one works with append child. So we create it, the element, and then we append it to the next step up, basically in the DOM. So we can either attach it to something with like an ID of something, and be the child of that ID. But in this case, we've just done it to the document, a div in the document. Okay, so ball is a document.create element div. So it's just going to be a div. And like we did previously, how we made a ball out of a div, we use the border radius 50%. And notice how basically the words are the same as CSS. However, where we did a dash, a hyphen in CSS, we just capitalize it and join it together and capitalize it. So in CSS, it would be border hyphen radius. Here, border radius with a capital R. All right, so we define the height and the width to be the same, and background, so the color of the ball be red. Border radius 50% makes the circle shape. That was just a test there. We've written an alert. Okay, and positioning absolute. So as we did in the previous circle, the positioning is absolute, so we can move it anywhere in the DOM, basically, on the screen. It's not reliant on the positioning of the outside objects. Okay, so ball.style.left is 0 and top is 0. So that position 0, 0 is the top left. And as it goes across the screen, the X will increase, or you can say the left positioning increases. And if it goes down the page, the top positioning increases. Or you can usually call it, like in mathematically, it'd be like the X and the Y. In mathematics, x actually, I mean the y goes up, but in this positioning, as the y increases, it actually goes down the page. Okay, so we've got, and then we append it to the body. So now you won't see anything with this code, it's just defining the variables, okay, and how we attach it to the body. But we haven't, well, I'll just run it to show this, all we can see on the screen now. Okay, just those titles we made before, and the title at the top is movable. Okay, so I'll close that. As you can see, the title at the top is movable. Okay, and now we'll put in the variables to use in the movable function. So down here we're going to have function. So before we call a function, we're going to have some static, variables outside of the function, and they will be the we need to know the actual Windows dimensions, basically. So if we get the width of the window, or the actual word to use is inner width and inner height of the window. Okay, so this is just done by, I'll just call it window X, which is the window dot inner width, and a variable window Y assigned to window inner height. All right, and we'll also make an increment. As I was saying before, we need an increment. Every time we run the program, we want the distance to increment a certain amount. So I just put it as like a small number, so it's smoother. It's 3 pixels, or no, don't need to say pixels, just say 3. Okay, and now the actual functioning of the movable function. Current positioning of the circle. All right, and within the function, we'll make the variable of the, let's call it the position X of the circle and position Y. So this we get by going ball offset left. So as a built-in function of JavaScript, shows the positioning of the object by, if you put offset left to it, and position Y offset top. Okay. All right. Current positioning of the circle is this one here. So we've done that. Actually, I should put this under that one there. The current positioning of the circle, change the direction if outside the boundaries. Yeah, okay. All right, so in order to change the direction, what we'll need to do is negate the increment. So instead of saying 3, we'll say -3. And to actually change it, I'll just put in a variable, call it X and Y, just if we want to change the, well, I don't think I really need to put one for Y. If we just need something to negate the, just gonna look at my, actually wrote out my coding before and just double checking why I actually needed to use a Y. I think, yeah. Okay. So in this, yeah, I get it. So I've decided that we can actually change the increments. Yeah, because we can have, yeah, that's right. So if just because the X hits the boundary doesn't mean the Y will hit the boundary. So if we have a ball and it hits the boundary on the right side of the screen, so we'll change it to a negative number. But it could still be going downwards. So the Y, yeah, that's why we need to. So the Y can still be positive and the X can be negative. So that's why we kept them that way. All right, so changing the direction if it hits the boundary. So what we'll do is, so we've got a position X and a position Y. Actually, sorry, it's better if we put that as a capital, just naming conventions there. And so if the position of X is greater than window X is up the top there, the window width, so that's window X. Then we'll change this variable X to a negative. X is assigned times assigned to -1. Yep, okay. It's the same as X assigned to X times -1. And do the same for the Y. Actually, what we'll do is not just the position of the ball. So this is very pos X is the ball to offset left. So what we'll do is we'll position that. We'll also include the width of the ball in this. So I've got the width. So the position of the X plus the width of the ball. So it doesn't sink behind the borders too much. We've got position X plus ball dot, we'll use the offset width of the ball actually. So we'll use the offsets again. Offset width is greater than Windows X. Yep, so if that occurs, we'll do this. Or, so this is just for the right side, the width of the window. And if it bounces there and it comes back, you have to make sure the X is not negative as well. Okay, so always check the negatives as well. So you put an or, pos X is less than 0. Okay, so we've got that for the X direction. Now I do similar to for the Y. If pos Y plus ball offset width, change that to ball offset. What's it called? Oh no, not that one. Pos Y plus ball. No, still need the width of the ball. That's fine. It's greater than window Y. There you go. Then, or the position of Y is less than 0. Yep. The top, if it goes above the top. Position Y plus the width of the ball is greater than window Y. So that's the bottom of the window. Then we'll make it reverse. So make Y is, so small y, assigned to -1. All right. What did I put 2 zeros there for? Sorry about that. And okay. Okay, and then we increment the X and Y position. Yeah, so this is where the actual movement's done. All right, so we've got ball dot style dot left assigned to the current position of the ball plus, now we'll use our variable at the top, of course, increment, and we times it by the X, whether it's, so this will be where it changes the increment to be positive or negative. So at first it's positive, the X is positive up the top there, but if it hits the boundaries, it'll turn to a negative. So we just put X there. So that's where we do the reversing. So the left position assigned to the current position plus the increment, and then we need to put the positioning in this case. See up the top there, we've put style.left is 0 pixels. So we need to put the px on there. Okay. Can't just be a number. All right, so we append a px to it. We use the plus and then px. All right. And that will be the same for the y. So just basically copy that and then change where we've got, instead of left, we got top. All that style.top is assigned to position y plus increment y plus px. Yeah. Okay, and then we put the delay. So to do the delay, we use the set timeout inbuilt function, set timeout, and then we put the call of this function. But we don't put the angled brackets in there. We don't put, just leave it as that. And then we'll put a set timeout, say, I put 21 there, put it a bit slower at first, like 50. Okay, and then outside of the actual function, we run the function. Set, not set time function, this will be movable. This is where we call the movable function. Here we do put the brackets in. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. Run. Well, if you can get it after doing all that typing without any checks, you're pretty doing very well if you don't have any errors. So I've obviously got an error, it's not running. So I'm going to try and find that error. Okay, so where does this error lie? So in order to check if there's an error, I will first of all check if basically the brackets match up, and I can see obvious thing, I've commented out the actual name of the function. All right, so that is a big error. We don't actually have a function unless we uncommented out. All right, so now we have a function. Didn't have a function before. All right, let's try that. There we go, there's our ball. And it's slowly moving at increment 3 left and 3 down every 50 milliseconds. Bounces off the bottom. Let's reverse the y. So the y is going up, x is still positive, but y is negative now. Now y is negative, and x is negative. So x and y are both negative. Going down to the bottom of the page, y is going back to positive. Because a negative times a negative is a positive. Cool. All right, so to make that a bit faster, we can just and then make it faster. We can adjust the timeout to be a smaller number. I like using a Fibonacci number, so this adds a natural effect to it. And a bit faster, a little bit smoother. So another way to make it go faster is to make the increment larger. But you'll see when we make a larger increment, it does get a little bit choppy. So refresh that. A lot faster, but it's a bit blurred, as you can see. All right, quite choppy. Okay, so just close that. Put it back to 3. And I like that pace. That's quite good, actually. Could be a little bit faster. To make it a little bit faster, we can make the... What's another Fibonacci number? 13. One, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21. Just a few there. Okay, so this is at set timeout 13 milliseconds between each increment of 3. 3 basically pixels, yeah. Mesmerizing. Okay, now so that's that. We've done the ball movement. Yeah. All right. So that's tick 1 section of the challenge. Roll a ball. We got the ball rolling. And ball stops at a square, rolls from the next row, or appears at another div and keeps rolling. Okay, so that's the next challenge. We'll look at hitting the divs and making it bounce it off. All right. Well, have a good night, and I'll come back to question 3, part B soon. Okay, bye for now.